Hey guys, welcome to our final week of Youth Group Online. And this is it. This is it. We will not be meeting on Zoom for Youth Group anymore after this week unless something crazy happens like COVID-19 makes us start a brand new quarantine. This is our last week meeting on Zoom. And after this Wednesday, we will be together in person from this point forward. And that means next Wednesday, June 17th, we're going to be meeting together in person at New Life Community Church. And we are going to have a feast. We're going to be meeting in the gym at 6 p.m., having a socially distanced feast with chairs spread apart, 6 feet apart throughout the gym. And I am strongly considering making it, doing something really special, such as Chick-fil-A catering maybe, or something like that, to celebrate our ability to come back and enjoy each other's company, and to be able that we're finally all together again in person. I am so excited because I cannot wait to see you all, and B, I'm really tired of this whole online thing. I'm over it. I'm ready for the in-the-person meeting again. So, tomorrow, or next Wednesday, we will be in the gym together. Show up at 6 p.m. We'll be in the gym from about 6 to 7:15 p.m. playing games, eating food, having fun together. And there will be plenty of time to talk and catch up. There will be gift card prizes, opportunities for you as students. And at 7:15 p.m. roughly, we'll be breaking into our small groups in different classrooms and having time to catch up in our small groups together. Unfortunately, we cannot gather in the youth room as a whole youth group together because it's too many people in too small of a space. So we're limited to being in the gym as a larger group and then just going to separate classrooms as a smaller group as like our format right now. But it's still going to be so much fun, even if it's a little different than normal. And our first week back next week will be completely focused on just having fun together, catching up after a long quarantine, and getting excited about some summer plans we have coming up for you guys in the youth group. So be here next Wednesday. Before that, though, there are some things you need to know about coming to church next Wednesday. First, we're going to be meeting at our normal time, like I said, 6 to 8:30 p.m., half the time in the gym, half the time in small groups. Number two, don't forget a mask. You have to wear a mask to be on campus and to be gathered with people. So everyone needs to bring and wear their mask on Wednesday night, and every youth group we have in person until we say it's okay, until COVID is like dead, like we're going to kill COVID. Number three, we're going to have to practice social distancing. And we are taking that very seriously because it's part of the rules for meeting in a group we just have to follow as a church. So if you haven't seen your friend in a while and you want to run up and give them a big hug, I'm sorry, you can't. You can give them an air hug and say, I love you so much and I miss you and I want to hug you, but I can't because I don't want to die of COVID. So we can still express love and that we're happy to see each other, but we cannot hug each other or come up to each other, and there will be plenty of time to laugh and talk together. But again, church organization, we have to follow the rules, and you guys have to follow the rules while you're on campus. And there will be tape marking social distancing for 6 feet in the line. There will be chairs where we expect people to be and sitting with social distancing. And we're really going to be firm about enforcing those rules just because that's what needs to happen. Another thing you need to know for next week is we all have to stay together. Some of you at times have maybe gone to Burger King right before youth group or maybe right at the beginning of youth group with your friends, but we can't have that happening because of what this is. Because of COVID and because we can only gather together in groups like on campus, and we have to be approved for that, and then we're in charge of you. So we're all going to stay together in the gym in our small groups during all the youth group time from 6 to 8:30. Next, don't come early. Don't come at 3 or 4 p.m. like sometimes we have in the past because, again, groups have to have permission to meet on campus because of COVID. So we just have to follow the structure for now, and also, get picked up at 8:30. Don't stay late either, because again, that's just the way the rules are constructed. There's not really space for us to be staying later than that, according to the church rules. Another thing, make sure you come hungry because there's going to be lots of food. Come ready to win the prizes. We'll have several opportunities for you to win prizes. And if you have any questions, I want you to ask me them. Or if your parents have any concerns, if they're nervous about COVID or gathering and, if they have any questions, please reach out to me. If you need my phone number, email address, ask your small group leader. They will get it to you, or they will get to me and I will get it to you. So that's it for that. I am so excited for our feast that we're going to have next Wednesday. It's going to be a party. It's going to be awesome. It's going to be so much fun. I'm excited to see you all, and I am ready to be done with this internet nonsense, which worked for a season, but you know what? At a certain point, I've had too much Zoom. Let's get together in person again. It's going to be a great time. It's going to be a lot of fun. We're also going to be talking about fireworks stand and other plans this summer, so come ready to hear about all we have going on for you guys next Wednesday, June 17th. I literally cannot wait. All right, so tonight we are going to be expanding and unpacking a little bit more of our talk last week. We're not going to talk directly about our talk last week, but some people ask, like, oh, this feels different from other lessons, and why did we decide to talk about this social issue rather than the normal Bible lessons that we tend to have? So I wanted to talk about that and why we did that, and I think things that we can learn or take away from it as Christians. So if you weren't here last week, we talked about issues going on in the world right now, the murders of George Floyd, Ahmaud Arbery, and Breonna Taylor. And I had Nina and Kimane share about their experience going to protest and why they are protesting, the injustices they are protesting, and they also gave us advice as everyday students and leaders and Christians as to how we can help be part of the solution and help fight racism where we see it. And then I talked about how systemic racism is not just an idea or a word you hear, people say, but it's a statistical reality that we can see. We can measure it in the different ways it shows up. And we see evidence for that in things like, I talked about last week, how black people who do drugs, black drug users, get arrested 6 times more often than white drug users. Both groups do drugs, and black people get arrested way more than white people who do the same thing. There's systemic racism built into our society because black people are fundamentally treated differently than white people in that, they are punished way more often for the same crime. So there's systemic racism in how our society treats them. And we also talked about how we can all take one step towards being a part of the solution by getting educated on these issues, by watching documentaries or pursuing education on being an ally. I recommended the documentary The 13th. It is awesome. If you haven't seen it, go to Netflix, type in 1-3, I believe it is the second result, The 13th. You will learn so much about how racism has evolved in the history of our country, and it's a great resource to getting educated. So today, I wanted to explain why we chose to talk about these issues in this time. Why did we decide to start addressing these things like in this space, like as it happened now? And because, again, one student I talked to noted how this discussion felt really different than the Bible lessons we normally do. And they liked that we were talking about being a Christian in a more practical, direct way to what's happening in the world. And I get that. I totally get how that our discussion last week felt more directly applicable to our current time and space than other lessons we've done, and that makes sense. And the reason the reason we wanted to talk about the protests and the stuff that happened with George Floyd last week is because of how clear this injustice was and how much it is impacting our country right now. And when something this big happens in our society, it is important that we as a church address it. We can't address every single thing that happens in the news or in politics, but when something so big happens that everyone's aware of, we as a church are responsible for addressing and responding to it as Christians. And these type of events where everyone is kind of aware of what happened doesn't happen very often, and it becomes something that kind of has to be talked about. I remember when Trump was elected president. I'm making no political statements, by the way. I don't like talking about politics as a pastor in this context. But when Trump was elected president, it was a big issue. Everyone knew what happened. Everyone had some people were happy. Some people were very, very sad, but everyone was aware of this issue. Everyone knew what was going on in this time and space, and it was such a big issue. It kind of took over the world. Kind of how like the Black Lives Matter protests have kind of taken over the world right now. And as a brand, I was literally in my first few months ever of being a youth pastor, And I created a space for that time for a youth group to talk about the election, to talk about what happened and how they felt in response to it, and for us to process that together. Not trying to make a political statement, but giving a space for us to talk about the events that are happening in the world around us. So when huge events happen like that, we as a church need to respond directly to those events and to those injustices and the protests that happened and the death of George Floyd and Breonna Taylor and Ahmaud Arbery, I think definitely fit these type of huge events that kind of took over our awareness of what was going on in the world. But obviously, we can't respond directly to all issues that happen, and we can't talk about everything like in the same way. For example, if something is happening in your life, or maybe at your high school, there's a big thing that happens, kids at other high schools might not know what's going on, and people aren't all informed. So we can't directly talk about all of these things that happen in the same way as the Black Lives Matter protests. And that's why, at the end of the day, that's why most of our lessons are not about these huge, these type of events, but they're about something more Bible related, or something specifically about a topic like dating and relationships, or even like doing the Enneagram, which we did in March before COVID shut us down, but as a way of learning about ourselves and how we function and growing spiritually and personally in our own emotional intelligence. So when we talk about these things, we are giving you tools, all three of those things, dating, relationships, Bible topics, and the Enneagram. We are giving you tools to meet your everyday realities as a Christian, to engage in your everyday life as a Christian, because your faith and what the Bible says should impact every area of your life. So just like how being a Christian should affect how we respond to the injustices and murders and death of George Floyd and to the protests and what's going on, so should being a Christian influence how you respond to being a student in your school and the things that happen in your everyday life, interacting with classmates, and things like dating and relationships. How should I as a Christian date people and pursue romance and passion and desire and all those things? Or how you as a Christian should think about the Enneagram in the sense that, like, hey, through the Enneagram I learned something new about myself. Now how can I use what I've learned to become a better person, a better Christian? So when we do these lessons, we are giving you tools to meet your everyday realities as a Christian, because being a Christian impacts every area of your life. And I've said this before, honestly, if there's one thing I could remind you of that you could hear today, it's this. Being a Christian impacts every area of your life. It impacts how you be a student, how you be a friend, how you think about the protests and George Floyd, how you think about politics and Obama and Trump, how you think about dating and relationships, how you think about the Enneagram and yourself and your own identity and feelings and how you're wired as a person. Being a Christian impacts every area of our life. So like I said, when you think about being a student, being a Christian should impact how you act as a student. You should ask yourself questions like, should I as a Christian be cheating on a test and being academically dishonest or copying other people's homework? No. Should I as a Christian how can I show the love of Christ to my classmates as a student? How can I help them to understand who Jesus is and what it means to be a Christian? And how can I show the love of God in that way? Ask yourself questions like, should I be saying mean things about teachers behind my back? How can I, as a Christian, respond to people who are mean to me with love? Because Jesus calls me to love everyone and to love my enemies. So if someone's mean to me in school, how can I respond with love? These are all questions you should be asking yourself as a junior high and high school student trying to live out your faith in school. And so when we talk about justice, we want to apply justice to both our life as a student and to bigger societal issues as well, like these protests and things that are going on. So when we're thinking about injustice, we should think about both, hey, it is wrong or unjust when that kid in my class is being bullied or attacked by the other classmates. Because that is unjust, I as a Christian should be doing something about it and standing up for that kid who's being bullied. At the same time, we recognize it is unjust in the exact same way. It is unjust that George Floyd was killed. And as a Christian, when we see injustice, I should be doing something about it. So in both those situations, there's a Christian response of fighting for justice and standing up against injustice. In your everyday life, with a student being bullied and with the death of George Floyd, this big national movement that's happened as a result of it. When we think about another topic like love, we have to think about how we as Christians are called to love everyone. So we should think both about how do I follow Jesus' teaching to love my enemy, to the student in my class who is spreading rumors behind my back, as well as how do I follow Jesus' teaching to love my enemies, to the angry person saying racist things on social media, or even to maybe someone who politically makes me angry or upsets me, someone like the president, Obama or Trump, someone like that. I use both Obama and Trump because I am not making a political statement, and they can be, I think Christians can be both Republicans and Democrats, so I'm just painting the broad picture. But, if you have someone in mind, good for you. So how do I follow Jesus' teaching to love my enemy, both about the person saying mean things behind my back, the angry person on Facebook who says something that's kind of racist, and maybe a political figure you don't like or don't agree with? How do I love my enemy in all these situations? So these topics of justice or loving your enemy, also things like forgiveness, they apply to the students around you in your school. They apply to how you treat your family. They apply to how you treat your friends. They apply to people on social media you interact with, who you either know or don't know. They apply to how we treat celebrities, or how do we treat politicians like Obama or Trump. They apply to everyone. And if all of this sounds confusing or a lot to you, the simplest way I can put it is being a Christian changes how you think in every area of your life. Being a Christian changes how you think in every area of your life. And our central identity, my main identity as Ryan Bogert, is that I am a Christian. Above all else, I am a Christian first. And as Christians, we acting like Jesus and loving people how Jesus loved people, and thinking what would Jesus do is our calling 100% of the time. We won't succeed 100% of the time. I won't succeed 100% of the time. But that's our calling, to think about that and to wrestle with that and to try and strive for living how Jesus wants us to live. So we have to take that very seriously. So the question I have for you today is, does being a Christian impact every area of your life? Does it? Does being a Christian impact every area of your life? And if you think your answer is no, I want you to know I'm not saying this to try to shame you, make you feel terrible about yourself. Don't feel terrible about yourself, but recognize that you have an area where you need to grow. So if your answer is no, the question is, how can you grow as a Christian to give all parts of your life to Jesus? Maybe the area you're struggling to give to Jesus is that you want revenge on those who talk bad at you, and you always try to get back at them. Maybe you want to cheat on tests and be academically dishonest. Or maybe you struggle with lying and struggle with the issue of honesty in a similar way. Maybe you have too much pride and you're too prideful. Maybe you struggle with lust and porn or other sexual immorality. Maybe you struggle to offer forgiveness to people who do you wrong. Whatever area you are struggling in your life to give to Jesus, my challenge for you today is to give that over to him, to give that area of your life over to Jesus, because we are called to give all of ourselves and all of our life to Jesus. Jesus saw you and saw us as humans, as creation, as all of humanity. Jesus saw all of us in our sin, and knew that the wages of sin is death and that we deserve death. So Jesus came in our place and took our death for us. Think about it like this. There was a knife going at your back and you were about to die. At the last second, Jesus stepped between you and the blade and took it in the chest and died for you so that you may live. Jesus gave everything for you. Jesus gave his life for you. So it's time that we give our lives back to him and to give everything in our lives back to him. Let's pray. Dear God, I pray that as we face this broken world, things like the death of George Floyd, the injustice we see there, or even the injustice of someone being bullied in school, God, that we think about our Christianity in all areas of our life and standing up for justice, or thinking about how we can love our enemy no matter what, God. There's the call to be a Christian is a very difficult one because it's hard to respond in a Christ-like way all the time, God. And there's so much sin and temptation out there, and we are broken and we will struggle and fall. But I pray that everyone listening considers the challenge to give all of their life to you in a new way, to surrender whatever stronghold they have, whatever thing they're holding on to that they don't want to give to you. Break that wall down, God. Break it down, and may they surrender that to you and decide to follow you in everything, God. And may all of us be able to think more about how our Christian identity is our main identity and our most important identity, and how that needs to affect how we think about everything in our lives, God. When we think about school or politics or anything, God, we need to think about it as a Christian first and take a Christian approach to how we respond in these situations, God. And that's why we do Bible lessons and we talk about dating and relationships, because we want to love you better, God, and we want to show our love for you in everything that we do, and we want to continue to grow as Christians, because that's the calling you have for us. You gave your life for us, Jesus, so we want to give our lives to you. So may we all do that in a new way this week. Be with us and guide us all safely to next Wednesday when we are gathering together at church again. We can party together again. And may that be a joyous celebration, God. It's going to be so awesome. We're so grateful that we can gather back together again. And we pray that COVID continues to be beat and that things continue to get better in our world. And be with those who are sick or struggling. Be with those who are protesting and who are upset about the injustices. Be with those who have lost someone in their families, either due to COVID or the families of George Floyd and Breonna Taylor and Ahmaud Arbery, God. Be with all of them. Bring about healing in our broken world, God. We love you, and in Jesus' name we pray. Amen. All right, guys. Well, that's all I have for you this week. I am so excited that in 1 week from today, you won't see me on here. You won't see me in a video on Zoom. There won't be a video of me, because I'm going to be there in person with you all on campus, and we're going to have a huge party, food, fun, games, prizes, so, the ability, friendship, everything. It's all going to be back at church. Zoom was good for a time. It was good during this season. I'm ready to be done with it, and I'm ready to be with you in person. So invite your friends. Let them know we're doing this. I want to get a big party going at church, as many of you there as possible. It's going to be an awesome time. I miss you guys, and I'm so excited that we're almost there. We're almost at the end of the tunnel, the light at the end of the tunnel. So you guys have a safe week, and I will see you all in 1 week. Get very excited. Have a good week, guys. See you later.